Okay, I'm really excited to be here. I need to start off with two disclaimers. Everybody else that you've heard from this morning is a veteran of the market research industry. They probably studied psychology or probability and statistics in school, and I'm not that person. Before I started Happi, I had no background in market research whatsoever. I'm an entrepreneur that had an idea, and essentially with an idea and a PowerPoint, I was able to raise $700,000 in 3 months, and I went for it. And I've been learning along the way, but because of that lack of industry background, lots of what we do at Happi is unconventional. Because I have no head trash. Nobody told me what was impossible. I don't have any past to get out of my future. So the fact that something has been done a certain way for 30 years has no impact on how we approach consumer insights and activation in the mobile age today. We're a mobile-only platform, and we were begun in the mobile age. When I started Happi, I didn't have a product idea, a firm product idea. I started with an emotion. I was at a conference, and the CMO of a large e-commerce company was talking about how much money is being spent on digital advertising. And I thought, when was the last time anyone has ever picked up the phone to call a girlfriend to tell her how an AdWord made her feel that day? When was the last time anybody has ever appreciated a brand because of the banner ad that flicked across their screen? And I started thinking about what people really want. And what people want, I believed, was more than a product, an emotion. People want to feel good about themselves. People want to feel connected with something. They don't want to spend money doing it, and they don't want to spend time. Everyone today is time stingy. That doesn't mean they're time poor. It just means they're time stingy. They would rather be playing Candy Crush or doing whatever it is they're doing than focusing on your content. And so the first concept that I built the company on was everyone wins. Now, I've been wearing this t-shirt. I have many of them. It's not the same t-shirt, but I've been wearing a Happi t-shirt every day for the past 2.5 years. And the reason is, on the back, it reminds me, and everything you'll see in our office has this all over the place, everyone wins. Everything we do at Happi has to be designed in such a way that not only the client, but the consumer, and most importantly, the community in which they live, benefit from what we do. The second disclaimer is I'm not here today presenting deep, insightful market research findings to you. I'm actually conducting market research. You are our market, or at least a segment of it. We have come up with something that is potentially provocative in terms of the way that market research and marketing has been traditionally separated. We think it's entirely natural and effective and that everyone benefits from it. But I'd like to just present the idea to you today and enable people to comment on it. So I'm going to be short and hope that you will comment on it. So first, I just need to explain what Happi is. Happi is a mobile application that is both a micro-survey app for consumer insights, but it's also a consumer activation app that can deliver promotions to people based on their profile or how they've responded to survey questions. The first thing that somebody does on Happi is pick the cause they want to support. And we support over 500 charities, community groups, sports teams, sports leagues, student organizations across Asia. From very large ones like Community Chest and Make-A-Wish here in Singapore, to my favorite new one. My favorite old one was the NTU Canoe Polo Club. I didn't know that canoe polo was a thing, but it really is. It's a thing. They play polo in canoes. I thought that was great. But my new favorite partner that we support is the Yellow Boat of Hope in the Philippines, which operates in a coastal region of the Philippines where children literally had to swim to go to school. So this is a little yellow boat that goes around and it picks up the children and takes them to school so that they don't have to swim to get there. Now, as you can imagine, their annual budget is very, very small, but they don't get a lot of attention. Our hope is that on Happi, we can cover their entire annual budget. On Happi, the first thing the user does is select the cause that they care about. The second thing that they do is select the prize that they want to win. And there's categories like gaming and technology and wine and dine and travel, and we're not giving away cheesy stuff. We're giving away Bali Villa weekends and Xboxes and mountain bikes and Coldplay tickets and all kinds of things. And then comes a survey. The survey is 5 questions long. Well, the user thinks it's 5 questions long. Now, why is it 5 questions? Because I thought 3 was too little and 7 is too much, and that was the degree of scientific thought that I put into it. We are a system 1 operator, right? I mean, we do not expect people to give hours of thought. The operating premise is that you have somebody walking down the street and they have to do the survey with their hand, but actually what it is, it's a rush hour thing. Our biggest markets are Manila and Jakarta and Ho Chi Minh, well, also Singapore, but the peak usage hours are morning rush hour, evening rush hour, and late evening. The middle page that you see is the thank you page. That emblem is the emblem on the top left of the charity that you support. And it reinforces, and this is really important because it reinforces your self-image. Every time you use Happi, you're like, yeah, I am a good guy. I'm supporting Save Our Street Dogs. And that doesn't decrease your likelihood to make another donation to Save Our Street Dogs. It actually increases it because it increases your perception of yourself as the type of person that supports that group. Another thing that is kind of unconventional in the research industry, you'll see to the right logos of clients. If the client wishes, we can show the logo of each company whose questions appeared in the last set of 5. So the user can look at that and say, wow, Quartz just supported my volleyball team. Quartz has no clue this person's on a volleyball team. But we've just made that connection. So we've built some affinity there. When somebody wins, and if you go to the app, if you download Happi, you'll see on the winner section, thousands and thousands of people have won. So far, we've given away over $500,000 of merchandise and donations. And so that's where the social proof comes from, that people can actually see the winners. And the last screen I'm showing you is where the engagement comes from, because we show you a screen of everything that you've smiled at. So we call it a smile. Our internal currency is a smile. A smile means that you select a product you want to win and you answer 5 questions. Every time you do, you get 1 more ticket in the lucky draw to win that prize. But there's a little blue dial that tells you how close that prize is to going to lucky draw. So when it gets to like 92%, and you've smiled at that thing 50 times already, and you know that in the next 40 minutes somebody's going to win it, you want another chance, you want another chance, you want another chance. And our biggest source of user dissatisfaction, and I get hate mail over this, is that users run out of questions. We're a startup. We don't have an infinite number of clients. And there's only so much profiling that we can do, and so people do run out of questions. And when the prize you want gets close to going to 100%, that causes tension. So our experience so far, we incorporated in 2015. We launched in January of 2016. It took a while to build the app. Since January of 2016, we've processed over 3 million survey responses, which, compared to SSI is nothing, but I kind of look at that number and it makes me smile. The fact that we've done 3 million in our period of time is great to me. We do service large clients. So our largest client is Unilever, our second largest client is Google, but that's not really where we want to take the company. We want to do for research what Google did for advertising. We want to move it down the pyramid. We want to make market research accessible to companies today that find it too expensive, too complicated, too time-consuming. Anybody with $50 in a credit card that come to a DIY portal and ask, 50 mothers within a specific region how they feel about something. That's where we want to go as a company, but we're beginning in the large enterprise class because that's where the budgets are, and it's just easier. Let me give you just one example of how the current product is used. A very large skincare company came to us literally on a Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. With a problem. They had invested a lot of money in the development of a high production value ad with singers on stage and fireworks and music and all of that. But they weren't sure the ad was really going to be effective. And so they came to us and they said, we want 200 women age 18 to 24 in Metro Manila to see this ad and answer 3 questions. Well, all of the questions on Happi can support hyperlinks, and so it's very easy to embed that in there, and we already had the users, and we were actually done by Saturday. But on Monday morning at 9 a.m., we delivered the report to the client, and the results were overwhelmingly negative. People didn't understand what the woman was saying, they didn't remember the unique selling proposition, they actually misunderstood what the purpose of the product is, but they loved the music and all of that. So the company pulled the ad to improve the audio. Our total charge to them was $600. We charge $1 per response, and that includes panel recruitment, programming, reporting, the whole thing. So if you want to ask somebody 500 questions, we're not cost effective. But if you want to ask a group of very targeted people, let's say 5 questions, and you want to do it quickly, we're extremely cost effective. So, hold on one second. Here's the new thing that we're launching today, actually. We just got it working on the app yesterday. And I was so pleased to see the quote from Mark Pritchard of P&G saying that the most important element of the value chain is to go from insight to idea to sales. Because that's exactly what we think the hug will do. And by the way, I called it the hug. Because why? Because our first product is the smile. And if you go a little bit more intimate with somebody, you hug them. God only knows what we're going to call our third product, but I'll worry about that when we get there. So the idea of the hug is to enable a marketer to go from a concept to a qualified test group to a promotion to a refined idea in hours instead of months. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's somebody at PetSmart that has this idea, you know, if we offered free home delivery, I bet you we could sell bigger bags of dog food. Well, on Happi, because we profile our users so deeply, we know who the dog owners are, and we know who the people who don't have cars are. So it takes us about 30 seconds to create the group of people who own dogs but don't own cars. And then we could send them a survey question that says, if you could get free home delivery, would you buy bigger bags of dog food? And then to the people that say yes, they get the hug. Now the hug is that one there. Sorry. The hug is a promotion that has only 3 possible responses. One is yes, and if they tap on yes, then they download the coupon to their phone, or they go to the landing page to fill in the form, or whatever it is the client wants to happen if somebody says yes. If they say, the other answer is not today. They say not today, well then we'll queue it up for another day, but we might ask them, why not today? And then the other answer, or the third answer, is never. And this is what I think is really important, because right now we're validating the delta between what people say they would do and when they're presented with the option, what they actually do. Which, Neha, I'm sorry, that's why I asked the question before, was somewhat self-serving. But I think that what this does is it takes the value of the insight that a survey can create even deeper. Because you've asked them what they're interested in, you present it to them, and if they don't buy, you can then go back to them and say, well, why not? Was it too expensive? Was the bag too big? Did you not like the brand? And so what the client ends up with at the end of the day is a validated insight. And it's something that, for example, a Facebook ad or a Google ad can never do. Digital ads can only tell you about people that clicked on your ad. They can't tell you nothing about people who didn't. And so we can qualify people for a promotion, send them the promotion, and then ask the ones who didn't respond to it why they didn't. And of course, we can follow up with the ones who did. Were you satisfied? Would you do it again? yada, yada, yada. So, a couple of things about hugs. First of all, conscious opt-in. People on Happi, first of all, they know that that's what the app is all about, but they also have to actually request to get hugs. The hugs go to a separate section of the app. If they're not interested in promotions, they don't have to engage with that part of the app. We charge clients on a pay-per-response basis, so everything on Happi is $1 per response. And so it's you can really set your budget and you know exactly what you're going to get. And as I said earlier, I think that it quantifies the delta between what people say they would do on a survey and what they actually do when presented with the offer. But from my perspective, of trying to keep users engaged, the offer also has a value because it makes it exciting for the users. It keeps them engaged, and it adds one more benefit of saying, well, not only can I win prizes and support a cause I care about, but I could also get offers that are tailored to the responses that I give. So I did this as quickly as I could to leave time for discussion. My question is, with the hug, does everyone win? Have we accomplished our business mission? And is it time in the mobile age to integrate insights with promotions and create that feedback loop? I hope somebody has a question or a comment, but I'm done with what it is I had to say. Please, what do you think? Is it time to integrate? Well, actually, you're on the a client, somebody on the client side. Would you use this? Would you? Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Julie. I represent a client that would use this. I can't answer your question at the moment, but I have a question for you regarding the incentives.
Sure.
Where do you get them from? Have you got a cap on price? Like you said, you've such a big range.
We buy them. Everything that we've given away on Happi, we've purchased. So the client pays us for the response, and we use a percentage of that money to buy the prize, and a percentage of the money goes to charity. So the prizes that are on Happi, those companies don't even know that they're there. We just put them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, yeah.
Got a quick question on your target demographic. Would it be more skewed towards the bargain hunter mentality versus the general demographic?
So in every market, we start with university students because they're easy. They're easy to find. They're coin operated, right? You tell a university student, hey, answer 5 questions and you can win a mountain bike, and they're down, they're there. University students have mobile phones and they belong to student groups. So there's always some cause that they're interested in raising money for. So that's the first group that we start with, and we're currently in 10 countries where we start. From there, we go to young parents. Now, is it the value-focused people? I could get in trouble for saying this, but my perception is that rich people don't take surveys. And so if somebody doesn't care about money, and they're so wealthy that, when somebody takes a survey on Happi, we donate 20 cents to the cause. That doesn't sound like a lot, right? But if you can get 1,000 people to take 1 survey a day, enter a free lucky draw over the course of the year, that's $73,000, which is more than the Yellow Boat of Hope needs to operate. But if you're a really wealthy person, you just write a check. So yeah, I mean, we are focused more on people that value money.
All right, Greg, what this is, it is ultimately about selling. Fair enough? I mean...
No, because our sample size is so small that it's not going to be enough to move the needle. We're testing 300 people. So if you're really looking to increase sales, this isn't a platform that you would do. If you're looking to validate a proposition across a precisely defined group of people, then that's what you would use. But this is not a mass advertising platform.
But it could become. And I think the question, I mean, it's
Yep.
a fair question to ask, that it would become selling under the guise of research, which...
It could.
Now, you have no... I mean, you're not a member of the Market Research Society, so you can do this. And but what I've observed is, whether it's this or even insight communities can be thought of as marketing under the guise of research, because essentially brands are engaging with consumers through research, maybe not selling directly. But I just think it might be useful even to take a vote here today whether this is something, the way the industry should be going. That is, ultimately, we have to be using research to sell. Or is that, would people be willing to see it go that way?
Personally, I think it's research under the guise of selling, but that's a very valid point, and I'd like to raise of hands in terms of not just you as a client, but in terms of the industry. Do you think this is a positive addition or not?
What's the vote?
Whether
is this positive or negative?
Yes, whether, well, you know, in terms of everyone wins, the industry has to win as well. Does the Happi Hug, is that a positive contribution to the industry?
Well, we're going to have a vote on this? And vote against?
Okay. Why?
Hello. I was going to say something similar to Piers. I think from day one in research we're taught it's research, it's not selling. And obviously that is interesting that you made that point, that research is not your background, but we're always taught it's unethical to mix them, basically, and and that's, I imagine a lot of people who are career market researchers like myself, we struggle with that. But whereas the positive side, the charity giving is brilliant, so that's why it's hard to answer that question, whether it's positive or not. But
what is the basis for it being unethical for research to lead to sales?
It's just every market research code in the world will say that. So
it's religious dogma.
It is. So that, I mean, that's a great point, is like why. But I think your platform's fine because people understand that's what's happening. But the idea of putting a survey out there and saying, hey, and by the way, we're trying to sell you something.
And then bringing them into a room and then turning the lights on them and trying to get them to buy life insurance, that's terrible. So
yours is opt-in, so it works. But it is sort of, I guess it flies in the face of research tradition, which is your point from the start. So I think there's always going to be that little bit of unease, I would imagine, in a lot of researchers.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sure you've had this question many times, that how representative are these samples, given that the prize, well, at least I know that there's the opportunity of prize draw, but it's...
Okay, that's a great question.
There is the thing about supporting charity, so you're getting consumers who have that mindset of wanting to support good causes. So how do you answer that question if it's put to you?
So, if you look at our user base, about 60% of our users are between 18 and 24. The other 40% are people that have been recruited by our users. And we do have a function that will say, okay, give me a nationally representative sample. But the way that we get them is through the existing users. So think of this for a second. Let's say you're enjoying a Sunday afternoon at home and a guy with a Coca-Cola cap comes and knocks on your door and says, I'd like to ask you a few questions. You probably tell him to go away. But if your niece comes to you and says, Uncle, our volleyball needs to go to the region tournament and we have to raise more money, and here's Greg and he's helping us, would you talk to him? Well, you invite him in and you have a cup of coffee. So what we do is we'll contact the groups that we're supporting and say, okay, we have this survey coming up, we need mothers of 2 children or more, or we need recent car buyers, or we need people that have traveled internationally. You know who those people are. Call them up, get them to download and select your group, and we'll give your group a special incentive. So we do have, we are naturally skewed towards young people, but we can recruit samples based on client needs.
I'm just going back to the kind of thing about research and selling. I can see why some people are uncomfortable with that idea. Traditionally research has always been very separate from sales, but ultimately, the world is different these days, and I think as an industry, if we just see ourselves as very separate from sales, ultimately we're here to support marketing, to support sales functions. Yes, this is different. Yes, this is about kind of bringing it together. Maybe we should think about updating codes of conduct, and actually, for me, ultimately, this is about, are you being honest with consumers about what are they signing up for, and what are they expected to do within this app? If you're saying to them this is purely research and we're not going to sell anything as a result of it, that's misleading, that's unethical. But if you're not, and you're very open with people about what you're doing, as Piers said, there's the same thing with insight communities. People have a lot of concerns about, is that about selling? Is it representative? Actually, if it's helping you to address a consumer need and to answer a business question for a client, does it really matter? Like the world is different from how it was 10 or 20 years ago. Codes haven't necessarily kept up. I think it's just about being open and transparent about what you're trying to do and what are people signing up for. That's just my opinion.
Thanks.
So I'm actually from the client side. My question is, how do you prevent a trained respondent from answering positively to every survey so that they can elicit the promotion?
Because if they answer positively every time and they answer negatively towards the promotion, we're seeing that and we'll remove them. We have a demerit system on Happi. We're tracking the speed with which people respond. We're tracking consistency. We put obviously false questions in to see if we'll get a false positive. Like, if somebody says that Donald Trump is the first female president of America, they get a demerit. If you get 3 demerits, you go on timeout for 3 months, and you're not eligible to win the prizes that you've smiled at. So there is certainly a negative incentive for bad behavior.
I'm actually asking based on the Hug. You were saying, for example, if people who said that they are interested in delivery services in order to buy bigger size stock food, will they be trained that if they answer yes to a lot of these questions, they always get this kind of promotional deals, and therefore they answer positively to more of such survey questions to elicit the promotions, and ultimately the insights will be inaccurate?
To be very honest with you, I can't answer because we just released this yesterday. But that is a valid concern, and it's something that we'll be watching. The nice thing about our platform is that our users use the app every day, several times a day. And so we can inquire and we can find out whether people are genuinely interested in the offer or whether they're just kind of gaming the system. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.